Happening, Tiki and Tierney show here on the Fan. Deebo. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing great inside the studio here, Town Fair Tire Studio, on this Thursday. Gorgeous out. Afternoon baseball, awesome. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. So, Yankees going for the sweep today. Boy, it almost, you would think that the Yankees were about to get swept. Has it ever felt less like a team going for a sweep? But here we are. You know, they're still not even playing well, and they're going for the sweep. And, listen, you'd love to see the Mets get it today. Take 3 out of 4. Even if you split, not the worst thing in the world. But when you take the first 2, it would feel different if you finish up with 2, obviously. Now, the thing about Marte with the steal last night, all right, from a baseball point of view, it's the wrong play, obviously. But from a big picture point of view, that's your 2022 Mets, and that's going to be a lot more good than bad. I can live with that. Because you're pushing it. You're forcing it, and didn't work out. You're thrown out still. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, then you're not a Mets fan. But when you get thrown out at second, down a couple of runs late on a steal, every baseball coach is saying the wrong way. Every casual baseball fan says, can't do that. I didn't have much of an issue with it. I really didn't. That's the Mets for you. That's an aggressive move. So in a lot of ways, I'm okay with it. Durant has been awful. Mets have a huge issue. Celtics are just punking him physically. And we'll get to that a little later as well. Yankee tickets to give out. Tiki is off today. Hoff, do you like how I arranged the portrait here for Tiki?
Oh, looks great. Looks brilliant. Looks better than when he's here.
Than the real Tiki. All right, so I want to say something about Deebo. And it's about Deebo Samuel, much like it was about Tyreek Hill and Metcalf and maybe A.J. Brown. The thing about the Jets, right, and this, I would say that this would apply to the Giants, but the Giants' history is different. We know this. Giants actually win every once in a while, right? And, the Jets can trot out a couple of years ago, the new uniforms. They can be pretty cool on social media, a good presence. They can have a ton of draft picks. They can have a ton of cap space. But here's the thing. Until the Jets actually land one of these monster studs that's available, like Hill. Now, that's not their fault. He's from Florida. Got it. But until that actually happens, the Jets are never going to be looked at differently from the way we're always looked at. Losers. And I listen, I love this regime. I believe in Joe Douglas. You guys know that. Much like I like the energy coming from Shane and Dayball. But, how many times can you sit here, and we've done it a million times. I'm sure Boomer and Gio have done it. I know Carton and Roberts have done it. Everybody's done it. Oh, you got all this money. Oh, you got all these draft picks. Oh, you got Joe Douglas. Oh, you got... And it's all true. And there is a lot of positive energy with these Jets. But here we are, 1 week from the draft. They got number 4. They got number 10. They got some stud 3,000 miles away who wants out. Maybe more importantly, they've got a direct relationship path to make that happen with the 49ers brass. And obviously they've got the money and the compensation to make this trade work. Joe Douglas is digging into that box, and he is, the spikes are in the dirt. And he is grinding it up, and he's trying to take a monster swing. And you got to love that. But until he actually connects, it's kind of a whole lot of nothing pertaining to, I don't mean the draft, I mean off-season player movement. It's one thing to have a seat at the table, and it's so much of my anticipation for the Jets' future is rooted in optimism and real conviction. And, I don't want to say unwavering belief, but, close. I believe in Joe. I do. I like the roster. You got to make this happen. You got to. And I'm going to do something that I really rarely do. I'm going to quickly backtrack on something that I said yesterday. When I'm wrong, I'm always going to throw my hand up and say my bad. But I didn't think I would change my mind this quickly on one aspect of this potential trade. You want number 10? Take it. Take it. I mean, the more I think about this, and you can tell me about the kid from USC, kid from Bama with a ripped up knee who's going to be a stud. You can tell me about all these receivers. Are they going to be that guy? Are they? And if they are, okay, but you don't know. So, in one day, I've gone from, all right, sell the number 2, give him 2 second-rounders, give him Mims. I mean, please, take Mims. You can take Mims no matter what. But if it comes down to parting ways with number 10, based on Deebo Samuel's age, versatility, explosiveness, penchant for the end zone, toughness, familiarity with the Jet staff from his Niner day. I mean, you got to make this happen. You really have to make this happen. Think about the other marquee, and obviously, let me take that back. Not the other marquee. That's implying the Jets are a marquee franchise. Look at the marquee franchises in sport, right? Jerry West finds a way to get Shaq. They find a way to entice LeBron to come. They win a championship. The Yankees have gotten a small universe of superstars over the years. I know we didn't like their offseason this offseason, but, their history. The franchises with brand recognition, which usually equates to wins and championships, those teams find a way to make what they are pursuing right now happen. And not just give us 2 or 3 days of content on the radio. Now, I also want to say this. Hey, the Niners, they've got them under contract for next year, $3.9 million. They've got the next year if they want to tag them, and they've got the next year if they want to tag them. So they've got 3 years of Deebo. They don't need to acquiesce to his demand. So I don't know that they will. I don't even know that they necessarily should. But, now let me be clear on this. If Deebo Samuel winds up somewhere else, if he's traded and it's not here, I mean, there's going to be a lot of disappointment, and that disappointment is going to morph or could, and on some levels should, morph into a fear that as good as Joe Douglas could be, he has not shown the propensity to deliver and reel in the big one when the big one is on the line. And that's what's got to change about this. That's what's got to change. So that's the deal. I mean, this kid is incredible. I mean, Huff, think about this, Huff. The Jets, if they get Deebo Samuel, and then, by the way, from extension, let's just say it does require, let's say they've got to give up number 10, and they do, all right? You could take number 4, you could trade back, you could recover that lost draft pick somehow, you could take Sauce Gardner, you could take Thibodeau, you could do a multitude of things and still add to this, which will be an A-plus offseason if you get Deebo. I mean, even the way it is, I think it's a B-plus. I really like the Jets offseason. But if they just imagine if we're sitting in this studio and it's late August and we're getting ready to watch a Jets offense that rolls out 2 highly competent tight ends for the first time ever. They never even have 1 competent tight end. Now, all of a sudden, they got 2. A young running back who's cheap. A quarterback who, I'm going to actually get to him last, actually, because he is the key. But all these, a gadget guy in Deebo, think Brad Smith times 1,000,000, okay? And then you got, Elijah Moore, who's going to be a star. Berrios in the slot. And Corey Davis. That offense is going to flirt with 30 points most weeks.
I'm in love with it.
I mean, you have to do this.
Deebo Samuel has to be a New York Jet.
You got to do it.
If he's not a Niner, he's got to be a Jet, and that's it, end of story.
Well, that's the key point. Now, I want to be fair, although I think I've been fair throughout the whole process. I think that there will be some This comes with the territory of being a fan. There will be some out there, let's say he's not dealt. And by the way, you've got a one week laboratory to make this happen, to coerce the Niners into probably doing something. Number one, I know they didn't think they'd have to do, and more specifically, probably something that they don't want to do. You got 1 week to make this happen, because once the draft comes, bang, conversation's over. Because now the assets are already spoken for, and nobody's making that trade. Yeah, theoretically, the Niners can have the Jets draft somebody for them. I get that. But, in large part, that's the expiration. That's the window. You got a week. And I promise you that right now, what do you think Joe Douglas is doing? Joe's on the phone. Like, the wheels are already in motion to try to make this happen. You can't convince the Niners to pull the trigger. All right, that you can't do. But what you also cannot allow to happen is for him to get dealt and it not be here. If he is rerouted, he must be a Jet. Must. Which is why, in 13 hours, I've already shifted. I was, yesterday with Tiki, and Tiki was pretty much with me. I'm not giving up number 10. I didn't want to do it. But the more I looked at this, I'm like, he's not Tyreek Hill at age 29. This dude's 25. 25. And he is a monster. You know what? Find Zach Wilson his Stephon Diggs. Look in the division and just take a page from that. It's exciting times, man, I'll tell you. 877-337-6666. And listen, Giant fans, I'm not ignoring you, but as I've said many times with Tiki, you guys are you're in the demolition stage of I worked construction in college, and we would just come in and the jackhammer, the sledgehammer, just smash it to smithereens, boom. Before the brass doorknobs and the shiny tile, we would come in and we would reduce it to rubble. That's where the Giants are right now. I'm not trying to ignore you, but you're 3 steps behind the process. Joe Douglas has been here for a couple of years. His fingerprints are already all over the roster. Shane and Daboll, different. By the way, I do like what Galladay said. You're supposed to be here. That nonsense that Tony's pulling, that is a joke. And that is in my opinion, that is a bad foreshadow of problems for Tony and the Giants and their relationship moving forward. You can book it. It's not going to end pretty. But this is incredible. And it's one thing to be in the mix for Tyreek Hill, who's going to, before you know it, he's going to be 30. That loot is ridiculous. Not that you wouldn't have done it, and the Jets obviously were prepared to pay him and give up those multiple second-rounders. Deebo, maybe you don't have to give up number 10, but if you have to, you do. You do. 877-337-6666. All right. Larry is in West Haven on the Fan, Tiki and Tierney Show. Larry, what's going on, bud?
Hey, BT, what's happening, brother?
How are you, man?
One thing, I like the way you're thinking, but when I look at the schedule, I only got the Jets, favored 2 games, Jacksonville and Detroit. And you're throwing money out the window for these guys that are ready to win now.
Larry, let me ask you a question. Did you think that the Jets would beat the Cincinnati Bengals a year ago? The answer is no. Did you think they'd beat the Tennessee Titans a year ago, the 1 seed in the AFC? The answer is no. Did you think they would have almost beat the Bucs to finish up the season? The answer is no. It is what it is, man. There's not as much randomness in the NFL like there is in baseball, but it's still pretty random.
Yeah, but you got the 4th best quarterback in the division. You got the 4th best coach, and you got the 4th best running game. You're going to be 4th. That's your number. You're number 4.
I got to tell you, Larry, you're coming out with the very declarative statements. I mean, I'll tell you what. You've also got the youngest quarterback in the division and the youngest head coach. Well, actually, second. So, I mean, can you give him a chance to flourish? It just started.
That's not a strike for you. That's 2 strikes against you.
What is?
The youngest quarterback and the youngest coach.
Not if that young quarterback is the guy, because that means you got more time with him. What do you mean, Larry?
What I'm going to tell you is going to be 4-13 or 5-12.
All right, Larry. Listen, Larry, I got to be honest with you. I like you. I'm hanging up on you. I just clipped him. I can't be having this. Come on, man. We can't have negativity permeate the show when we're chasing Deebo Samuel, a touchdown machine. Huff, that's the first call that I take of the day? What is this?
Go to the next guy. They'll be much more positive.
It's almost as bad as Dove's tweet earlier. Wait till I tell you what Dove inserted himself into it. Evan Roberts.
Hey, good vibes only here. Good vibes only.
Good. Now, listen, when there's bad vibes, there's bad vibes. And sometimes, based on what we watch and what we react to, there's going to be bad vibes. But this is not a day for bad vibes, man.
Not today.
Come on, man. Joe's in Ramsey, New Jersey. Joe, how are you today? You're on the fan. What's up, Joe?
Hey, doing good, BT. I hope you guys are doing great today.
Yes, sir. Pretty good. What's up?
All right. As a Jets fan, I have to say the prospect of getting Deebo Samuel, I'm all for it. I hope the Jets swing for the fences and get for him. But that swinging for the fences, I'm hoping that the two first-round picks are not touched. I wouldn't mind giving up at most both the second-round picks if I were the GM, but just between the talent level between the 4th and the 10th pick going versus the 2 second-round picks, I believe you can have a heck of a lot more difference makers and playmakers between those 2 picks versus the 2 second-round picks.
Yeah. Well, Joe, let me tell you this, Joe. I think that's a logical, pragmatic way of looking at it. But the problem is, Deebo Samuel, who, by the way, was also a second-round pick, is already that talent. You don't know if the guy that you draft in a week is going to actually – I know they don't draft – put it this way. Whomever they draft – thanks for the call, Joe. Whomever the Jets and Giants draft on Thursday night, right? We'll get on the air Friday. Now, we might have reservations. Oh, did you reach? Oh, did you really need this position? Oh, he's the second best lineman. Oh, he's the second best receiver. I'm not saying that we're not going to react without a trace of skepticism, but in large part, when a guy gets drafted, you kind of accentuate the positives. Like Denzel Mims, he's big, he's fast, he's got a great catch radius, all the other, stupid draft, platitudes and verbiage that these people who don't even really, get the draft right just shove down our throat every year as they have for 30 years, right? Like on draft night, for the most part, everybody's good until they're not. You know what I mean? So I get it. I am not in a race to give up that 10th overall pick. But if it comes down to this, if the Niners call up Joe Douglas and say, Joe, we'd love to hook up Rob, and McDan and LaFleur. We'd love to do it. But Kansas City's offered a number 1. The Pats are offered a number 1. You know what? Then you got to give up number 10. You have to. Now, I'm not saying that, you're like the drunk who gives it up on the first night. I'm not saying you just, you got to make them earn it. But if it really comes down to it where it's either number 10 or he's going somewhere else, you give up number 10.